Today it's time for a best of 5 series of professional StarCraft 2, and what I've got for you is a Protoss versus Zerg, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on the world of Sleepers. Spawning in the top right hand corner of the map, playing with the blue Protoss probes. He's from the United States of America and he goes by the name of Astrea. His opponent in the opposite corner, an absolute powerhouse of a Zerg player. Playing with the red Zerg drones in game number 1, we have, of course, none other than Solar. Alrighty, so yesterday I casted a game between Bly and Polt, and I mentioned at the beginning of that video that I don't think I've ever casted a game of Polt prior to that one. Now, I'm still not entirely sure, just because of the fact that Polt is such a household name in the StarCraft community and he's been around for such a long time. I do know, however, for a fact that I've never casted a game of Astrea before. So Astrea is an up-and-coming Protoss player from the United States. I don't know all too much about him, but I do know that his name has been popping up in tournaments here and there, and I also know that this is the grand finals of the ESL Open Cup number 2 Korea. So this was just played a couple of days ago. It's a best of 5 series against Solar, so I feel like, you know, he's gonna have a very tough road ahead of him just because Solar is so very good. But it is the grand finals of an open tournament that everyone can participate in on the Korean server. Now, I don't really know exactly if Astrea maybe is staying over in South Korea right now, or maybe he's practicing over there in the foreigner house, or maybe he just likes playing on the Korean server. Maybe he has got a good ping on the South. I have no idea. But there's no denying that Solar is very good, and in order to get to the grand finals, you certainly do have to beat a bunch of pro gamers in order to get there. So Astrea, as of me making the video, the rank 47 in the world, the rank 3 from the USA, and while I'm not all too familiar with his playstyle, we'll figure it out together. Solar, on the other hand, I mean, does he really require any additional introduction? When it comes to, like, the current top 10, okay, of StarCraft 2. Number 1, we have Serral. Number 2, we have Cure. And yes, I mean, I'm taking these numbers from Illegal X, so you always gotta take it with a grain of salt. But that is that Cure that I've been hyping up for so long. He just overtook Dark, who's currently in 3rd place. 4 is Maru, 5 is Raynor, 6 is Rogue, 7 is TY, and 8 is Solar. Now, if you watch any StarCraft 2, you probably are familiar with all of those names. There's no denying, though, that Solar is one of the very best, so I do think that Astrea is going to have a very tough time ahead of him. But then again, he made it to the finals, so, I mean, he has to have some skills in order to get here, right? So, very normal opener so far. Every single ZVP that I've seen over the last couple of days always include that Oracle opener. Blizzard just recently hotfixed the Oracle, basically making it a little bit more reliable like it used to be back in the day. For a little while, there was some unreliability for like a month or two, and now that the Oracle is once again functioning like it is supposed to, players are embracing it like an old friend. Now here we go. He does decide to actually commit right now with that very first Adept. Gets a Zergling kill here already. Second Zergling, though, is going to run away, but this is just such a nuisance, right? You lose a bunch of mining time. I don't think he's going to be able to get a worker, but this is one of those things where you have to take a little bit of a gamble. If there would have been 4 Zerglings out rather than just the 2, most players would go for 4. The Adept probably would have died there, so it's a bit of a gamble there from Astrea, but it paid off. He saw exactly what was going on. I think this time around, though, yeah, he's going to cancel that shade. All right, so Phoenix is out. This one is going to start working on the Overlord that's currently trying to scout out what's going on. Always a little bit of irony because, well, the Overlord right now knows exactly what's going on, right? This one is sacrificing its life for the Swarm, trying to figure out exactly what's happening, and then it sees the Stargate unit coming out at the appropriate time. He does now also spot, though, that the Oracle is coming up, so we'll see if he wants to commit to maybe like a Spore Crawler or 2 here in just a little bit. Looks like for the time being, actually. Wow. Okay, he only starts up 1 at this point. For the time being, he's playing very, very greedy, not making any of those static defensive structures until he absolutely needs to. Look at that. So late with those spores. I like it. I guess there's 2 queens in a natural, right? And the 3rd one is joining in as well. I mean, a queen is essentially like a Spore Crawler, kind of, right? Except it can move and put down creep and stuff. All right. So perfect timing there, actually, on the Spore. I'm always a little bit too quick on those, I guess, right? Having that extra little bit of mining. Ooh, very nice. Wow, he actually gets 3 worker kills. Not bad at all. Wow. All right. You're certainly not supposed to get 3 worker kills there. Astrea making some moves that maybe Solar is not necessarily familiar with. First off, like the committal right there with the Adept, and then also going into the 3rd base with the Oracle. Those are moves that are relatively uncommon. Obviously, it should be something that Solar should be aware of, right, and should be used to. But I mean, maybe that's one of those server differences. You know what I mean? Like, there certainly is no denying that players on the different servers like to play a little bit differently as well. Bunch of adepts actually are available. That's quite a few. Wow. Okay, so it's going to be an adept follow-up. 16 Zerglings, though, are already on that production tab, and I've got a feeling that it will be more than enough to get rid of these adepts, especially if they manage to get on creep. But once again, yeah, we have some harassment over here. Both of the oracles stay alive, and I'm very impressed so far with the way that Astrea is approaching this game. So, well, Roach Warren's done. Adepts are shading towards that mineral line. Looks like 2, maybe 3 will end up going down. Is he going to commit? He does commit. A couple of drones will end up falling over here in the natural. But you gotta always keep in mind the counter-attack right now. So notice Solar, he's making a ton of additional Zerglings as well. He's gonna be able to do like a counter-attack to watch the third base quite smoothly, as all of those adepts get picked off. There's really not that much defense at home, especially now with these oracles still on the other side of the map. Now there's a shield battery, so that's gonna make things a little bit easier. 2 sentries here as well. But it's gonna be difficult. Well, you know what? Actually, he's got 4 sentries. Not a whole lot can be done here. Huh. I'm liking this position here for Astrea more and more. It takes but 1 misstep, though, to lose at this point, right? So if these adepts fall, or rather if these sentries fall, if the, you know, probes get sniped or something along those lines, it can be game over very quickly, but nicely done there. Oracles are also back home, so they can essentially deal with, like, what seems to be, at least from the eyes of a Zerg player, an infinite amount of Zerglings. Okay. So Solar, he has been very aggressively droning up, right? So he lost 11 drones, but he's still at a very reasonable worker count, building up towards the 4th base right now. And since he is relatively low eco, he decided to go for the infestation pit right now, and then also those swarm hosts. So swarm hosts, they've kind of fallen out of fashion a little bit, especially now that the Nidus network is a little bit weaker, the Nidus worm that is. It essentially received a triple nerf, which is very, very, very scary. But Nidus play certainly is still viable. It's just a little bit weaker compared to what it used to be. I feel like Nidus play is one of those styles that punishes weaker players primarily. Like, you don't really see someone like Stats die to Nidus worm and swarm host, that is. You don't really see someone like say like Stats, or did I say Stats already? Like Stats, Zest, Showtime. Like, those guys don't, generally speaking, die to that kind of style. Let's see, though, how good Astrea is when it comes to playing Nidus Whack-A-Mole. He doesn't really know exactly where this is located right now, but he knows that there might be, going up right outside of the main base, a very common position. Oracles immediately activate their pulsar beams, and beautiful work there. Astrea manages to kill the very first worm with ease. At the same time, Zerglings trying to make their way over towards the 4th base. This will also be spotted immediately by that one Phoenix. Beautiful move so far here. I mean, I've got a feeling that Nidus worm also will not end up going up, even though these zealots will have to awkwardly move all the way around. Nidus worms are 75 gas each. It's not something that you can just, like, you know, nilly-willy. Willy-nilly? Which one is it? Nilly-willy or willy-nilly? I don't know. But it's not something you can just throw around, you know? It's pretty expensive to just keep throwing these kind of things away. There we go. 3rd ones get spotted as well. And that is massive. I really want to emphasize that. If you kill the 1st one, that's great. If you kill the 2nd one, even better. If you kill the 3rd, 4th, and then even the 5th one as well, that's absolutely huge. Nidus Worm is scariest when the Protoss army can be contained on a relatively small amount of supply. Once we see Protoss going over, say, like 140 or so right now he's sitting at like 160 almost, they are going to feel way more confident against this style. Now, it is going to be a Disruptor follow-up, so that's pretty curious. This Zerg army is in a very weird spot. Solar, you need to get him out of there, my man. Is he gonna commit with the Nidus Worm? Yeah, he's finally gonna, like, pop a couple of those Swarmos out. Hopefully that's gonna aid him right here in the retreat. A couple of units actually coming in from the back as well, but they are mostly trying to regroup with the main force. Very awkward fight there, all things considered, but Astrea, once again, uses those oracles that he kept alive earlier to continue raking in those kills. Wow. I'm very impressed here. Like, it's so easy to die to Nidus play. I've had it happen to me dozens of times when playing Protoss. Like, you don't see the first Nidus Worm go up, you just barely misreach your opponent. It's just game over. It's just game over immediately. Just now, Astrea has bought so much time for himself. His army is way scarier. He still needs to be careful, though, moving out on the map like this. There we go. Oh, nicely done. The Locust Wave gets activated. A couple of the units will be caught. That one Archon especially very expensive to lose, but this is very reasonable. Ooh, big connection there with that Disruptor Bull. Locusts are making their way right now to the 3rd base, but I think that one will be cleaned up relatively easily. Okay, So this may actually be the wiggle room, though, that Solar is looking for, right? So he's once again going to load up, maybe try and move his way over here. Well, there's already a couple of zealots on patrol. Queen's actually now pulled even to lay some creep all the way over at this location on the map. Once again, a couple of units do get killed by that Purification Nova. Astrea knows that the Nidus Worm is up, but, I mean, this one will still pop up all of these. I mean, it feels like it's not even really that necessary, right? I guess it's like a nice safe haven, though, for those, like, you know, Swarmos to go back into it. But it really feels like the Nidus network has not really been worth its weight at all. Fourth Nexus right now being acquired here as well. That one is a little bit late, if I may be so critical. Would have liked to see that one come up a little bit sooner. But we do now see Solar making that forced transition. So this is what I saw Serral play actually very recently quite a bit as well. In the Protoss versus Zerg matchup when he was trying to qualify for IEM Katowice. He was going primarily for Roach Ravager Ling Bane. So no more late game, no more like, you know, Infestor Brute Lord, none of that. Just really focusing on Roach Ravager Ling Bane. Now, Roach speed, not done, or rather, Baneling speed, not done just yet. This Protoss army here is terrifyingly strong. Once again, good connection here. Astrea, so far, outplaying his opponent. Nice work there. Both players trying to outsmart each other. Once again, though, big detonation! Oh, all of the Banelings get picked up by one of those Purification Novas. Still, though, Astrea has to run because those Locusts do not mess around. That was an extremely expensive army to lose. Looks like, ooh, maybe one of the Archons will be picked off, but not quite. Look at that. Resources lost. Heavily in favor here of the Protoss. And normally, right? Normally, that's not a big deal for Zerg, because they're out-mining the Protoss. In this case, there's no out-mining happening whatsoever. It's actually the Protoss who's out-mining the Zerg. Fourth base has been acquired, 77 workers versus only 65. I think what Astrea needs to do right now is just max out. Just get that maxed out army going and take a big engagement. Gotta be careful though, obviously. Fighting on creep, always a risk. If you get surrounded, I mean, that could be a disaster, especially if the Locusts come in from the side. And there we go. We do have the Banelings trying to get a favorable trade. They finally managed to catch a lot of that Protoss army that was relatively clumped up. A lot of the Protoss units actually get picked off, and what was previously a beautiful advantage. I'm liking this a little bit less right now. Yeah, look at the supply count. All of a sudden, while he was close to maxed out, there was an awkward fight there. The Zerg came from every single angle. Solar is not gonna give up this game easily. Another base, though, has been acquired. He's expanding completely vertically. Also, apparently, big Zealot Warp in here. Top left-hand corner. Once again, though, he doesn't really have the money to just, like, throw around a bunch of Zealots like this. This works well against weaker Zerg players who might accidentally be caught off guard, right? And end up losing, like, a base to a bunch of Zealots. Not gonna happen, though, to Solar. Okay. So, he's getting +3 right now. For his ground units, that is. Getting a very solid amount of gateways as well. And Astrea, indeed, like, taking it down a notch, right? Playing a little bit more slowly. Once again, good detonation there. Gets a couple of those Banelings. Looks like one of the Disruptors actually also dies. Handful of Swarmos still remain. And while they haven't been able to, like, rain the Locusts to where they wanted to, this is still looking pretty good for him. Once again, though, these Zealots, right? They never were cleaned up. They just simply run into the base. And, well, since these Zerglings aren't properly upgraded, they're going to be able to get a lot of those very, very easily. At the same time, a couple of Zealots loaded and unloaded over in the natural. Really nicely done. Big Zealot Warp in right now inside of the main base as well, while that army is indeed busy. Finally, we do have a Locust wave heading towards the natural. The main Protoss army, though, is still trying to clean up some of that creep. And actually, miss rally there from Solar. We do now see a couple of those Swarmos being picked off. It seems like the Locusts also were killed. Solar not anticipating his opponent moving so aggressively on creep. And you know what? The Protoss from the USA is very, very impressive so far. Really cool. Like, I expected this to be pretty one-sided. So far, dare I say it, Astrea outplaying his opponent. See, the thing is, right, for Solar, he doesn't have a follow-up plan. Like, his follow-up plan is more of the same, right? So, yeah, I like this a lot. Introducing another source of splash damage is pretty much always the right call for Protoss. He's going up towards the Psionic Storm right now. Wouldn't even mind seeing Colossus or something like that, you know? Like, I guess Colossus is inferior to Storm, but you get what I mean, you know? Like, adding in additional splash damage, pretty much always the correct call. He's got the Robo Bay, though, so, you know, it's not terrible against Ling Bane. Okay, he's also gonna make the transition right now towards that fleet beacon, but here we go. Massive surround is being set up right here by the Zerg player. Disruptors, though, do connect very nicely. Storm is not done yet, so these High Templar, yeah, they have to morph desperately into an Archon. Still, though, Archon's absolutely phenomenal, obviously, against that Ling Bane-based army. Banelings, once again, though, get blown up very nicely as well. Astrea forced to fall back right now towards the safety of that 4th base. At the same time, we have Zealots going down everywhere, heading to all of the expansions of the Zerg player. That now essentially makes this push of Solar a complete all-in. GG is called. Astrea obtains victory in game number 1. Honestly, that was extremely impressive. I didn't quite expect that. Really nicely done there by Astrea, just simply outplaying Solar there from start to finish. Solar obviously making some sloppy moves there, and Astrea just capitalized on that very, very quickly. So game number 2, we find ourselves on Ephemeron, and I think this is actually a bit of a better Protoss map, just because Zerg has a hard time taking a 4th and a 5th. You essentially are forced to take these 2 bases as a 4th and a 5th, and because of that, it's always a little bit easier for Protoss to decide where they're gonna attack. You always have to decide in what direction you want to push, and, well, if you know that your opponent's bases are guaranteed in a location, it makes it just a tad little bit easier. It also helps quite a bit with, like, killing the creep and all that, because, well, Zerg only really will, they will only really be spreading into one direction, primarily. Anyways, I'm really curious, though, as to why Astrea decided to participate in the Korean Cup. Like I said, the most likely scenario, I think, is that he currently is over in South Korea. I'm not sure if that's the case. Maybe he, like, lives on, like, I think it's the West Coast, right? That has, like, a good ping to Korea. Could be happening as well. I believe if you're on the East Coast, you get, like, 250 or so, which is just too much. But I know that if you live in, like, some areas of the US at the very least, you can have a ping of, like, 100, maybe 120 or so, which is reasonable enough to, at the very least, compete in those tournaments. Interestingly enough, most of the competition in StarCraft 2, for those of you unfamiliar, it takes place on the European ladder and then also the Asian ladder. Most of the American top-level players, they play on either of those 2 servers. So I believe if you live on the East Coast, you play on the European server, and if you live on the West Coast, you play on the... and if you live in Central, I mean, you're screwed. No, I don't really know, but I know in general the competition on the EU and the Asian ladder, the Korean ladder, is a little bit higher than that of the American one. I guess the primary reason for that is that it's just like there's more pro gamers in Europe and more pro gamers in Korea. I think it's probably primarily because of, like, I don't know, like yearly wages and all that, right? In general, in the US, it's pretty high. So, especially from, like, Eastern European pros and stuff, it makes sense. Like, they can get by with a smaller amount of money and actually still live off of it. At the very least, that's my theory. I have no idea if that's correct. But anyways, let's see what this game is going to bring. So once again, Astrea has decided to go for that Stargate opener. Very standard. And while Solar hasn't quite seen the Stargate, look at what he's doing, right? So he's leaving this Overlord over here in the natural for a little while, looking at the Warp Gate upgrade. Now he sees, okay, it started up. That's the most important tell that he can get right now. This is the normal time for the Warp Gate to start researching if your opponent goes for a Stargate opener. So Protoss, whenever they finish the Twilight Council, or rather the Cybernetic score, they always have to decide if they want to go Twilight Council, Robotics Facility, of Stargate. Twilight Council and Robo are 100 gas each. The Stargate, however, as you probably know, is 150. So if you want to start up both an Adept as well as a tech structure, and you go for the Stargate, you can't actually afford also going Warp Gate. So clever little move right there by Solar. It is the gold standard in this matchup, and there's some mind gaming going on there as well. I mean, it's obviously only really happening at, like, a higher level, right? I know that, for example, if you play on, like, the... I mention this thing oftentimes when I do coaching in StarCraft 2, and apparently all the way up to, like, Master 3 or so, it's very common for players to go for the Stargate and then still get, like... or rather, go for the Warp Gate upgrade and then still go for the Stargate. Doesn't happen all too often at this level of play, and that's also the reason, obviously, why Solar is double-checking. Flying that Overlord in at the 3-minute mark to figure out exactly what's going on, forcing that Phoenix to, you know, to kill something. Some players will go for, like, the Stalker instead of, like, the second Adept here. It's always a bit of a choice that you can make. I love this song, by the way. I don't really want to, like, you know, talk through it too much. Hey, by the way, do we have a double Samwise? Hold up. Oh my god, double Samwise meta. Absolutely amazing. Is there a Samwise on this base too? No. Usually it's only the main bases. I don't really know. It's like a small bug that happens in the replays of StarCraft 2. Anyways, here we go. He's taken a very similar approach so far. I wonder if Solar is going to take like a similar approach as well. I mean, let's be real. His Nidus play did not work whatsoever. It got absolutely shut down. Killing the first one, and I really want to emphasize that, killing the first Nidus Worm is huge. I was going to say, he should see that Zergling. Does manage to get the kill there. Third base gets acquired. Where's the Oracle? Ah, there it is. 2 of the Oracles making their way towards what seems to be the 4th base of the Zerg. They're mostly just doing like a bit of a mating dance, I think. So for those of you wondering where little baby Oracles come from, I think this has to do with it. There you go. They've embraced, and we can expect a 3rd one any moment now. Pretty sure that's where Oracles come from, okay? They don't get warped in from like another place. That's not what happens. Alright, they've been joined as well by the Minister. They're now officially married. Wait, did they just do a mating dance before getting married? Oh my god. Someone tell their families. It's a disaster. Okay, in the meantime though, while a little bit of harassment is being done, yeah, this position over here is awkward, right? This time around, Solar made a lot more Zerglings. Maybe you expected that it was going to be a similar follow-up with those Adepts as well. Not going to happen this time around. Very nicely done here by Astrea. Once again, deflects that with ease. And you got to keep in mind, right? That many Zerglings. I mean, yeah, it seems like a relatively small investment. 11 Lings have died so far. He still has a bunch of them available. But every single two Zerglings. Almost correct. But every single pair of Zerglings. There you go. It's essentially not a drone, right? So every single Ling you make is half a drone that you're missing out on. Spire play, by the way. Oh, okay. Well, never mind, guys. Nobody heard anything about Spire play. I think that Solar may have wanted to go Mutalisk, but he's realized, wait a second. I think this is going to be a very aggressive push, actually, from the Protoss. Look at that. 8 gateways have already finished up, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, that's 8 gateways in total. This is essentially a 2-base push off of 45 workers, which is essentially a 2-base all-in. Alright, Link's actually trying to go in from the back. Ooh, you know what? I'm liking this position once again. Great set of force fields there, slicing part of that army. There's actually also a, ooh, there you go, stasis ward set up too. Great micro there by Solar as well, trying to bait out as much as possible. Spike crawlers eventually do finish up. Not a lot of energy though remains on those queens. Link's trying to get the wraparound on whatever they can, and actually the leftover energy there on those oracles helping out as well. Just a good old 2-base all-in. Reinforcing Zerg units, though, are coming out in very large numbers. Look at the worker count. The longer that this battle goes on, the bigger the army of the Zerg becomes. He's adding on additional queens as well right now, so he can continue injecting. And I've got a feeling, while I do like this push here from Astrea quite a bit, it's a cheeky little move. It makes it look like he's going to play a macro game, but in reality, he's actually just expending. I think that this is mostly going to be shut down, especially now with that Prism going down as well. And whenever a 2-base push does not work out, right, whenever you go all in and your push gets held, you're in a pretty dire scenario. Okay, so Astrea is going to follow this up right now with probes. That's fine and all, but you're going to have to go up against a Zerg player who can go for an absolutely massive army. Solar knows it as well. I mean, he's adding on like 1 drone right here. He's actually going for a 4th hatchery as well. He's got the baiting nest coming up. He's going +1 melee already when he realized he'd had it held. He's going to be able to start a lot of aggression right now. Now, you got to be careful though as a Zerg here. Yeah, you can't just go all too aggressive either. If you get too aggressive, it's super easy to accidentally overextend, because you got to keep in mind, these Protoss units, they are still more cost efficient than that of the Zerg, right? So even though the economy is in favor of Solar, and he's probably going to be able to produce a bigger army, that economical advantage can oftentimes be caught up just in the cost efficiency of the units. Now, I like this quite a bit as well. We once again see the Robo Bay coming up. This will be scouted here by Solar. So beautiful scout there by him. This reduces the option of Protoss' tech right now towards either Disruptor or Colossi. And, well, Solar's going to once again scout out with another Robo facility exactly what's happening. Apparently what he's looking for right now is that Twilight Council and the Forge. This is a standard mid-game follow-up. I like the announcer that he's got. We hear like the Korean guy screaming every once in a while. I believe that's Caster Park, I'm not entirely sure. But he's figured out exactly what's going on, right? Has he actually? I'm assuming so. Oh, actually, no, never mind. He hasn't. Wow, okay. So you know what? He's actually now making the transition after 1 Disruptor towards Colossi. Very cool. Extended thermal lens coming up as well, indicating that he wants to go for several of them. Also indicating that I want to make a really inappropriate joke. which I've been making for years. Okay, can I do it? Girl, are you a robo-bay? Because you make my extended thermal, or you make my... Oh, man, I messed it up. You make my thermal lens extend. I made a mistake, man. I can't even tell jokes anymore. Yo, don't right-click on the rocks, please. Thanks. It's the oldest joke in the StarCraft community, okay? Here's another one, okay? A Marine walks into a bar. Where's the counter? Here we go. The Zerg army's coming up. This is not good. Massive detonation there. Beautiful move on that disruptor. Still though, sometimes StarCraft 2 is just a numbers game. Solar was pretty much maxed out for that push. He's trying to get the value though. Astrea, that is, really gets a beautiful, beautiful engagement. Really the best that he could hope for. But I mean, that economy that Solar has had for such a long time is kicking in here. GG is called, and Solar evens up the score. Classic StarCraft jokes, though. Here's another one, okay? You ready? Why did the Colossus fall over? Because it was imbalanced. I do like him. I do like him. Okay, you want to hear my favorite one? I tell this one at least once a week on stream, okay? And I still haven't gotten tired of it. You ready? What did Tosh say to the evil Zelnaga? Amon. I don't know, that one still cracks me up, okay? Give me a break. That one's great. That one's really, really good. What do you call a zealot that smokes weed? A High Templar. I'm sorry, guys. It is what it is. All right. Hatchery first once again for Solar. Not really mixing it up all too much. Honestly, like, you can go for some aggressive pushes in the early game of ZVP, but you'd have to go for like a proxy hatchery or something that is essentially completely all in. You know what I mean? Like, you could technically go for like proxy gateways as well as Protoss, but if the Overlord accidentally scouts it, and that happens quite a bit, it's very, very easy to just, you know, end up losing the game right then and there. So we don't really see a lot of aggression right now in ZVP. The most aggressive pushes I think that we have for Zerg is going for that pull first and just, you know, trying to be a little bit of a jerk with those first couple of links, throwing the Protoss off of their builds. But honestly, Protoss players have gotten so used as well to dealing with, like, you know, pull first builds while still fast expending. It really doesn't matter all too much, unless once again Zerg wants to really commit a lot and, you know, they decide to essentially go all in just off of a bunch of Zerglings. Yeah, it doesn't really work out very well. So most players will go for that low ground wall as Protoss, and then also most players will go for the third base really early on after getting that natural up and running as well for Zerg. It does mean that every single ZVP that I cast, I have like 4 minutes of time to fill, man. Especially in a best of 5 series when you're solo casting, okay? What do we talk about at this point in the game? Can we talk about the weather? Not really. I live in the Netherlands, okay? It's cold. It's rainy. What do you expect? It's kind of what we do around here. Plus, I know that, well, people are watching this from all over the world. It's currently summer over in Australia. And I know a lot of people from, like, Canada have been complaining that they couldn't open their front door. And the only thing I could do was watch my YouTube videos because they haven't been able to leave the house in days because of the terrible snow. So talking about the weather with a worldwide audience is also a little bit strange, huh? Anyways, once again, Astrea, not mixing it up, not going for anything different, going just simply for that Stargate opener. This time around, though, after getting the second, or rather the first Adept out, he's actually not even scouting with that one. Huh. Just leaving it 100% at home. He's going for that Stalker. 2 minutes 50. So apparently when he, oh, never mind. I thought he was going to send in his Overlord a little bit further. Well, he is. You know what? Solar. Yeah, look at that. Wow. Okay. So Solar knows the production time of when the second Adept should be out. So because of that, he's like, wait a second. The Adept should have already been out. He's been staring at this point of the screen for a little while. The Adept should have been out already. If it's not an Adept, it must be a Stalker. So this time around, even though I did it in game number 1 and 2, I'm not even going to bother flying in that Overlord. I like it a lot. Astrea right now also assuming that that Overlord is still up on that pillar. Still though, Solar, trying to be a little bit cheeky, probably will fly in just a little bit to see the timing right there of those gases in the natural. Ooh. What you gonna do about it? This time around, also no Phoenix. It is just gonna be straight up into that second Oracle as well. So there's gonna be a little bit of aggression here from Astrea, I'm assuming, but This is one of those games where I'm liking the position for the Zerg player quite a bit, because he's essentially got all of it dealt with. He doesn't really have to worry at all about any kind of early game pressure. And while obviously he's going to have to deal with like those adepts here in a little bit, Zerglings are going to be more than enough. Queens are going to be just enough as well to deal with that first Oracle. Liking this position here for Solar a lot, and apparently he does too, as he's already adding on a couple of those drones. Is he going to commit? Oh, yeah. Any worker kill here is nice. Not at the cost, though, of any units. That's the thing. Oh, losing that Oracle's huge. Oh, my God. 1 hit point. Literally 1 hit point. All right, yeah. Make the fly of shame. Go all the way back home. That would be awful. So 5 workers, actually. Most of the time, Protoss players in like a standard macro game, they're looking for at least 5. Ideally, they would like to get a little bit more. So 5 is still reasonable. If you would have lost that Oracle, though, I don't think it would have been enough. Because if that's the case, right, if you lose that Oracle, Zerg can just make a ton of Zerglings and go kill your third base, because 1 Oracle is not going to be enough to defend it. So it becomes a bit of a disaster. Losing that 1 Oracle is very, very painful. Not the case, though, in this one. And Solar just happily droning up once again. He's decided to go for, like, I think this was a 430 or so lair. Maybe a little bit after that. Also going for the Roach Warren, which is already done. There it is in the back of the natural. And he's going to be able to finish up that 3-base saturation in just about 5.5 minutes of time. So 66 workers is what you need in order to saturate 3 expansions. That's usually the number that Zerg is looking for before really deciding what kind of tech they want to happen and what kind of tech they want to go for, and before they really start producing a lot of army. Once again, 2 cheeky adepts. You know what? These cheeky adepts in this game, or in the series so far, they've actually been really very helpful. Feels like a bit of a desperation move, but I mean, it seems to work out pretty much every single time. Looks like it's going to be a High Templar follow-up here as well, so Archon drops probably. Couple of the adepts over here as well at the third. They get stuck between the gases. Means that the Zerglings won't be able to get the perfect surround. Now, sadly here for Astrea, he apparently didn't have the gas to warp in another one of those High Templar. So that's going to slow down the follow-up a little bit as he needs the second Archon. Still not bad whatsoever, though. Yeah, so how many workers is that in total now? 12. The 12 is very reasonable. Different tech route, though, this time around here from the Zerg. So it's going to be Lurkers. Oracles in the meantime in the main base, they're working on some of those drones. And you know what? If you get 10 worker kills, right, you're in a really good position. If you get more than that, well, believe it or not, you're in a better position. As long as you don't lose too many units. Nice little bit of juggling here as well. Look at that splash damage negation right here. Hahaha. Beautiful moves there by Solar. Microing his army so those Archons don't deal the splash. This is actually a surprisingly aggressive fight. Now, Lings in the meantime, though, are making their way across the map, and there's really not that much to defend at home, obviously, when all of these units are over here. 8 drones going down so far. Most of the units actually will be killed here as well. In the meantime, though, we do have some of the Lings picking off some of the probes as well. You gotta work on them, though. You know what? I don't think you got a single worker there. No. 21 drones going down. Wow. Thing is, though, a lot of army was killed as well. So, I mean, yeah, you can see resources lost right here. This is one of those things, right, where you think you're really far ahead as Protoss, but in reality, you ended up losing quite a lot of valuable units, too. Zerg can obviously reproduce so many of those units at once as well. I don't think this is the end of the world here for Solar, but he does need to be careful. Okay, so Lurkers are the new flavor in the ZVP matchup. We've seen them in pretty much every single matchup, actually. Since the Lurker Den right now takes much less time to build, it's become a very popular transition to make from Zerg. In the past, you needed like a ton of time in order to finish up the Lurker Den, and it was difficult to make that transition. Right now, since they also have a Hive Tech upgrade that allows them additional ranged, they have become super popular to use in a late game too, because not only do they have that burrow upgrade, they also have 10 range in total. So they get 8 range right now by default, and then you can bring it up to 10 with the Seismic Spines upgrade. In the past, when that upgrade didn't exist, the unit started off with 9 ranged, which was okay, I guess, but 10 range, I mean, it's only 1 more, right? But it really is significantly better. Primarily because it, like, outranges High Templar, and it does, you know, outrange Colossus as well. Colossus also at 9 range. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. Still don't know Hive Tech or anything. There we go. Finally, it does start up right now, but it's a little bit late when you want to go for that Lurker style. 4th Nexus right now being acquired, and it looks like Astrea is left to his own devices once again, for the most part in this series. It seems like Solar wanted to be active in game number 1. And it didn't really work, right? He tried doing so, but it didn't really work. He's playing much more passively right now, which I think is the correct call. So especially when you play Lurkers, it's super difficult for Protoss to push. Like, Lurkers, I mean... Ooh, actually, big warp in over here inside of the main base. They're kind of like that unit that prevents you from pushing in. I mean, you kind of can, but it's always a gamble if you don't know exactly how much there is. I mean, look at this, though. This seems like a significant amount of Protoss. That certainly is enough to kill those few Lurkers that are there. In the meantime, though, a couple of drones were picked off. Looks like the Prism might take a bit of damage, too. Not gonna be happening, though, for the time being. It won't be picked off. Lurkers actually inching forward. That means that they are unburrowed. Is there any detection over here? Oh, there is detection here somewhere. Oh, there's an observer right over there. That observer, obviously, very critical. If Solar can get the snipe on that, he can essentially force this army to go all the way back just by that. I mean, there are still these oracles, though, actually, so Revelation's still very helpful, too. Nice little bit of dodging and diving here. Astrea trying to close out this game very aggressively right now. Does manage to kill one of those Lurkers there. 10 drones end up going down as well, but the aggression mostly has been shut down. Okay, so Solar did use a bunch of time here. Wow. One hero probe to go all the way up. Wow, actually, hold that thought. Oh my god, Lurker Drops. I like it. I thought those were like Zerglings or something like that. Ooh, once again, good detonation. He's really loving those disruptors, actually. Really cool. Lurker Drops, not something we see all too often. I don't mind it. I mean, that's 11 probes going down. And you need detection, right? It's so annoying to deal with. If you don't have detection, it's going to deal so much damage over the course of time. Now, still, this is really stressing the multitasking. Looks like Astrea is doing a pretty good job when it comes to that multitasking for now, but he needs to get rid of those 2 disruptors. And you know what? If you're going to clean them up with Zealots and Observer, yep, they're just simply going to pop back into the Overlord and be just fine. Even when they're fighting like this, though, I mean, it's not like they have a small amount of health. Lurkers really do have quite a lot of health. Look at that. Might actually be enough to kill those 3 Zealots. Not quite, but pretty close, pretty close. Okay, so this is buying a lot of time, right? So what I was trying to say is that Solar has been given a lot of time to go up towards the Hive. He held on just fine, and he managed to go up towards the Hive, which means he can start up those Hive tech upgrades as well in the Lurker Den. These upgrades, right? That's what really make them really scary. I love the Lurker Drops, man. It's kind of like High Templar drops, right? I've declared my love for High Templar drops. I think they're phenomenal. Lurker drops are like probably the next best thing. No, actually, High Templar drops are better. I'm sorry. High Templar drops are better because, well, they're more spectacular, right? It's more fireworks. Everything dies quicker. Speaking of High Templar drops, they are getting their Psionic Storm upgrade right now, so at least there's something. Recall is forced, though, and that means that these roaches have done their jobs and they decide to go all the way back home. Zealots in the top set of the map. Or top section, rather, of the map. Looks like they are ready to run here as well. Lynx, though, immediately responded with as well. And while we do have some aggression over here, Solar likely isn't going to be able to get all too aggressive until a little while later. Once again, big Zealot warp in right now inside of that main base. Yeah, should be dealt with as well. A couple of spine crawlers, though, should be helping out too. And this is a lot of resources that are being lost. Now, once again, Zerg doesn't have the best economy, but he is getting some good upgrades. Even +3 missile right now as well. In the meantime, though, I mean, Protoss is getting that High Templar upgrade, like I mentioned. He secured the 5th base as well. I don't mind this position for Protoss whatsoever. It's just that I look at the supply count every once in a while, and it's a little worrisome. Okay, so 8 High Templar just got warped in. There you go. Make those Archons. Archons are absolutely delicious. Very good. Whoa. You see it flying through your monitor. Maybe you're watching this on a television or a phone. Anyways, it flew across my monitor. That's a lot of Lurkers, by the way. Oh my god. How many Lurkers is that? He's going up to 20. That's 20 Lurkers, and I believe they have all their upgrades. They do. So they are going to burrow real quick, and they're going to have a ton of range. How are you going to close the distance here, other than with, like, disruptors? Good splits here as well, actually. Those splits really nice. Takes 2 of those disruptor hits to get something done. At the same time, once again, a Lurker has made its way over here towards this base in the bottom left-hand corner. Astrea, are you running the game with the Diva announcer?
They're attacking your base, you know.
Oh my god. Are you kidding me? Wait, I want to hear it. He's playing with the Diva announcer, I'm pretty sure. You can hear what the player's announcer is when you like... Okay, I guess we won't hear it right now. Anyways, you can hear what announcer the player is using in the replay files, which is pretty cool. I always like that. I like it especially when they use the Loco announcer, which you can pick up as well in the game store if you want to. I get a percentage off of every sale. Just saying, you know, just bringing it up, guys. Did anyone notice the sellout? Here we go, though. Big march down the ramp. Oh my god, that is so many lurkers, though. Is that enough Protoss to deal with all of this? Huge storms do go down. A couple of lurkers still remain on that high ground, but you know what? Yeah, Solar. Oh my god. He like walked through a minefield. Astrea, that is. Absolutely got shot out of his third base. And I think the correct call in hindsight was to give up that third base, right? And to hold on to the natural instead. Astrea, though, wanted to defend there really, really badly. Decided to move all of his units down the ramp. Landed some good storms. Killed a lot of those lurkers, but there were a lot more than what he realized. I wonder what kind of style Astrea wants to do now. Because, I mean, he's done the same build 3 times. I mean, small deviations, obviously. We did see him, like, go for the Phoenix and you know, then the Oracle. And then in the previous game, he went for the Stalker and then straight up into the Oracle. So, small deviations here and there. But I kind of feel like it comes down at this point to what the Protoss player wants to do. Because, honestly, Solar, yeah, he got shut down in game number 1 really, really hard. But he's mixed it up, right? He's gone for different styles. One of the main critiques that I think a lot of people have of Protoss is that Protoss really doesn't have a lot of, like, unit variety, especially in the mid-game. So pretty much all the mid-games of Protoss involve, like, you know, the good old Archon Immortal Zealot Ball, and then maybe a High Templar, maybe Colossus, maybe, like, Prisms, maybe Disruptors. There's a little bit of variety here and there, but it's kind of like the same thing every time. Zerg has a lot more variety with what they can go for. Most of the time, yeah, it's going to be Roach Ravager, Ling Bane based, but it feels like there's more commitment towards different playstyles. If you play the same playstyle every time, right, and you have like a similar approach most games, at some point your opponent will just read you like a book, and I feel like that's what like separates the best of the best from like weaker level players. So we'll see right here what Solar wants to go for. Wouldn't be surprised if he just does the same thing once again. Maybe with like a different tech route, right? Maybe go like Mutalisk or something in this game as well. But he's probably going to take a very similar approach in game number, like he did in game number 2 and 3. Rather than going for the Night Display, wouldn't mind seeing him go for the Muta play or any kind of other tech whatsoever. He could even decide to go straight up towards the Hive and get Brute Lords going. Although, obviously, they're not super common. They're absolutely amazing against that Archon Immortal Zealot mid-game. So once you can get Brute Lords out, I mean, it shuts down that unit composition so hard. So I wonder what Astrea wants to go for, right? I like the style actually that he played in game number 2, where he decided to go for like the 8 gateway with the third base. So it's a bit of a cheeky build, but I think that may be a way of catching Solar off guard. And, you know, rather than playing a full-out macro game, you don't have to win in the long run. Most of the time, though, it kind of still feels like it comes down to what Protoss needs to do. If Zerg is completely left to their own devices, I mean, Solar is going to happily make 100 workers and a million Spore Crawlers and, you know, counter the Skytles in the late game. And while Skytles, I'm pretty sure, is like a guaranteed win if you are... Oh, God. I think Skytles is pretty much a guaranteed win if you manage to get maxed out with, like, High Templar and stuff below, say, like, 6k MMR, which is where, like, 99% of the players play. If you do it against someone of the caliber of Solar, he's just gonna shut you down hard. So, yeah, like his micro, his control, his scouting and stuff is top notch. He knows exactly how to deal with that kind of unit composition. Once again, that Stargate opener, by the way. Feels like the Stargate was done for a little while already. Am I crazy? He does have a couple of adepts right now on the other side of the map trying to be a nuisance. Overlord will figure out exactly what's happening. So it's going to scout here inside of the main base. This time around, it will be killed as well by the, well, not so much the Phoenix, but that Stalker. It's not the same Stalker as we saw in the previous game, I'm sure, but he's going to be able to figure out what's happening here inside of the main base of the Protoss and see that a second Stargate unit here was queued up as well. So, once again, similar approach here in game number 4. Thing is, though, right? if you play like the same game every time, you can get countered quite smoothly as well. Like, look at this. Solar is already anticipating your movement. I don't think you're going to be able to get too much done here with the oracles. Now, maybe I'm misreading it. We'll see. There is once again a third nexus going up. He didn't take the gases in the natural. Is he going to do like a gateway explosion here in a little bit? I wouldn't even mind it. This is a very quick third base. He is still making probes though, so yeah, okay. Is he going to go over 44? That's the real question. He is. Okay, so he is going to go over 44 probes. So that's going to be more than he can handle on 2 bases. So he could certainly decide to go for like a gateway explosion if he really wanted to and do like a push like he did in game number 2. But I mean, honestly, that was also kind of handled really smoothly there by the Zerg player. So we'll see. Solar on the other hand. You know what? Oh, you know what? I think Solar wants to go home. He's like, you know what? Well, he's probably played this from home, but he's actually the one going for a more aggressive push. Rather than going for a lair, he's decided to add on the queens here. Go for the Roach Warren, go for the double gases. I think what he's going to do is a queen march. I think he plans on marching with the queens through the center of the map and a push with Roach, Ling, Ravager. There we go. There the queens go. This is scouted immediately by Astrea. I love this build. This build is so good. I've been playing this build so often. It's great. It's really nice. So 430, you go for about 50 workers usually. He actually doesn't have that many workers here. But 430 is what you go for. You go for like the Roach Warren and the double gases in the natural. Or, well, anywhere else. And then you go from there. Now, Astrea, though, seems to be anticipating this. You know what? He wanted to go for what seems to be Mass Oracle. He's going for the 2nd Stargate right now. 5th Oracle is coming up. Oracles are phenomenal. Oracles can shut down pretty much all of this very easily. Yeah, the queens, I mean, they are the main source of anti-air. They're great against like the 2 oracles, maybe the 3rd oracle as well. They're great against like the 1 phoenix that may be joining this fight too. But what are they gonna do against like 6 oracles that will be available here in just a second? Well, you know what? We'll find out in just a second here. They're just gonna get shut down, aren't they? Ooh, a couple of corrosive balls do land, but now that the queens are out of the equation, these oracles can kill literally everything else. Adepts are microed back towards the safety right there of that mineral line as well. Really, really cool play here by Astrea. I haven't had a lot of people counter this build that I'm going for, but Astrea is familiar with it. Decided to go for a bunch of oracles. He's still producing 2 at once, by the way, which is huge. Obviously, this isn't held yet, right? But this is the scariest portion of the build done. An extra queen was pulled off the line too, and while most of these oracles are currently out of energy, I've got a feeling that they are gonna be just enough to clean all of that up. And, well, Solar, he went for an all-in. He could have probably stuck in the game for a while longer. He put all of his eggs in one basket, but he's gonna GG out. And that means that we're going to game number 5. Okay, so here we go. So I don't know who wins this either. I just know that we are in game number 5, and I kind of like the way that Astrea is playing this series so far. Everyone knows that Solar is very good, right? There's no surprise there. Astrea, though, a bit of a wild card for me, and he's doing an excellent job so far. Alright, here we go. So, we find ourselves on Zen. Should we do the introductions? Spawning here, in the top right-hand corner of the map. Playing with the red Protoss probes, from the United States, we have Astrea. His opponent in the bottom left, he goes by the name of Solar. Of course, from South Korea. Recently joining Team TSG. I believe, early January, I believe. Don't quote me on that. It's something along those lines, though. He's recently joined the new team, which is always good. Actually, did he switch teams from TSG? Now I'm actually not entirely sure. Hold up, let me look this up. Solar Wikipedia, that is. So Solar joined the new team, TS Gaming, so TSG. Yeah, the 18th of January. So, well, I mean, this video gets posted on the 21st of January. I'm recording this on the 21st as well. Yeah. Pretty recent indeed. So that's how you know at the very least that this game was played very recently as well, right? He wouldn't be rocking his new clan tag until after joining the new team. Okay, so this map can be a bit of a disaster. Both players, though, are approaching this as if it's just a normal game. Most of the time, Zen creates some really crazy and dynamic games because of the secondary entrance into the natural. So you can get Zerglings in here very easily, because Protoss is usually going to be busy walling off the front right over here. Then again, obviously, you can wall this with just like one unit or one like pylon or anything along those lines, so it's pretty easy to deal with. Still feels like this is a bit of a gamble here from Astrea. He did decide to go for the very quick scout. But, you know, Solar, he went for the cheeky build in game number 4. And it makes sense, right? He's not likely to go for a cheeky build again because it didn't work, right? He wanted to go for what was essentially an all-in. He's not likely to go ahead and cheese you. So even though this might be a slight gamble here from Astrea, it worked out just fine. I mean, is someone like Solar really going to cheese you twice in a row? Unlikely. Or I guess the second game was not so much, or the fourth game, rather, was not so much a cheese. The previous one, that is. But it's an aggressive push regardless. So, I guess the idea here is that he created... Is this a full wall? It looks like there might be a gap over here. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to see. I think it might be. But anyways. He is probably trying to like create a wall over here and then use this as like his main exit and entrance. Speaking of exit and entrance, a couple of links just made their way in. No need for the Overlord sacrifice this time around, although... I mean, at this point, I'm not all too surprised. No, Adapt. I wanted to hear Diva. Are we not going to hear Diva anymore? I think it's Diva anyway. But once again, it is going to be that Stargate opener. He doesn't have the gas at this point, actually, because there's been some harassment over here. Oh, the one adapted recall. Alright, fair enough. So, Ling will scout for us if this is indeed a full wall off. And I think it might be. I mean, it seemed like it had an attack move over there. Well, we will never know. I guess this is a full wall. I'm assuming it is. Alright, so there was a little bit of economical harassment there. Meaning that this Oracle is going to show up about, I would say like a 5 to maybe 10 seconds later than it normally would. Once again, doesn't sound significant. Can be extremely annoying though. And this is Solar's comfort zone, right? Once again. This is where he feels best in a game. It's where he shines and where he really does seem very strong as well. Now, there's a creep tumor missing over here. Oh, it's over there, hiding by the bush, I was going to say. Is that an active one? It is indeed. He needs to continue spraying that creep, though. It's actually on idle here for a little bit too long. In my liking, or at least for my liking. 3 queens over here in the natural. 2 drones is certainly all you're going to get. Not likely to get any more than that. I wonder what you want to do. Oh, is this... Oh, no, I thought once again the Stalker was going to try and make its way out. Not going to happen. Is this indeed going to be a low ground expo? Okay, very cool. So every single person that I've seen play this map so far, they have expanded vertically. So basically go for here, the 3rd base, and then the 4th base down below. That seems to be the standard. This is kind of a cool approach as well, where you go for the low ground expo. The only problem here is that for Zerg, they can engage this from so many angles. Like, it's very easy to get a lot of units going on over here. Very easy to get a lot of units going over here as well. And while you're not likely to mine out these mineral patches here in the center, it is a possibility. And there's a lot of units that come in from every single angle, right? This 3rd base, relatively exposed towards some of the tucked away ones that we see on other maps. So I wonder what Solar wants to go for here. Roach Warren, once again, extra gases are being taken now that he's closing in on that 66 worker count. And you know what? Wow! Astrea, with an extremely cheeky move, decides to go for the 4th base already. That's nutty. That's not something we normally see in StarCraft. He decides to go for like a 3rd base at what? Like 5 minutes-ish? Maybe 450? And then like another base a half minute later. This got scouted immediately there by Solar. It's one of those moves that if not scouted, you could be in a world of trouble. I think this might just very well be that, once again, that same style, right? Where you go for the Swarmhouse Nidus Worm. I wouldn't even mind it. I mean, it didn't work out in that previous game because Protoss had a very significant standing ground army to play whack-a-mole with, right? I mean, yeah, the first obviously got killed by those oracles, but I feel like this is very reasonable here if he decides to go for the Swarmhouse style once again. Queen's absolutely necessary here, though. Once again, it's a lot of oracles. Like, there's a lot of oracles happening here. He's not quite massing them. I mean, he had like 6 oracles last game, right? So maybe he is massing them. He probably would have made more because he was producing like 2 at once. This is still way more oracles than we normally see. The absolute most we normally see in a standard game is like 3. So he's already up to 5 right here. Very curious. Okay, so it will be that Swarmhouse style. It will be. Main base right now also scouts that double Forge has been taken plus a Twilight Council already. This is very greedy play here from Astrea. If this is left alone, if this is left to its own devices, Protoss is gonna absolutely skyrocket ahead. Very greedy upgrades and very greedy expansions. Obviously though, while all of this is ready to get like kicked in, right? It takes a while before all of this is active. Protoss is gonna have a very small army. So in the long run, yeah, he's in a great spot. In the short term though, I'm not entirely sure. And you know what? You don't even really need a Nidus Worm here. You can just rain all of those units across the little chasm here. Oof. That is like 10 swarm hosts. Not bad at all. There they go. What are you gonna do about this? Last time we had this, there were Archons, there were Immortals, there were Sentries, there were all of that. This time around though, I'm not seeing any of that. And if this third base is killed, the fourth base is pretty much as good as dead as well, because you can't really hold on very easily, right? You have to hold position. Positional play, absolutely massive. Extremely greedy play here from Astrea. And while he may be able to get away with it against a player who doesn't scout very actively, Solar figured out the fourth base immediately. Just has a couple of Zerglings right now working on the probes in that line there as well. And I've got a feeling that this is a disaster in the making here for Astrea. I mean, look at the probes. Oh my god, all of them are going down. Probes that were long distance mining the third base will also now be killed. A couple of the Locus once again land, and they're going to be able to force their way through that ramp. 32 workers end up going down. Now, in the meantime, the Oracles, going for what seems to be a desperation move, they have just killed a base. Oh my god, if he kills another base, that would actually be massive. Nice little bit of micro there. He is paying attention to what's going on, and, well, he loses one as soon as I say that. Another queen does pop out, though. If he can get another base, that would be absolutely huge. Okay, the queens have returned back home. I love it. The Oracle counterattack. That's not something we normally have. Oh, you know what? Tons of Stalkers were warped in as well. Astrea's economy is in shatters. He does still have the fourth base, or I guess now third base. He's gonna be able to transfer some workers over there. There's one Spore Crawler. What's the Spore Crawler doing over here? I don't know what the Spore Crawler is doing over here. No, don't kill the Spore Crawler. Don't you dare. Good. No. Don't you dare. That's my Spore Crawler. I feel very close about that. No! Don't do it, man. Leave it alone. Yeah. Go around. No. One Stalker, stop. It just wants to, like, find a home. Oh my god, it's seeking refuge. It's not gonna happen. Locust in the meantime, oh my god, it lives. Locusts in the meantime are flying on over to that newly acquired Nexus. It's still got that new Nexus smell to it as well, but I've got a feeling it won't live for very long. Speaking of not living for very long, the Spore Crawler is apparently now crawling its way back home. Oh my god. No. Oh, I thought he was attacking it with a probe. Look, I know there's a game going on over here, but I want to watch this Spore Crawler. Sam the Spore, can you please win the game for us? What is this Spore Crawler doing here? No. Don't do it. No, Sam, no. That was disappointing. A little bit sad as well. You know what else is crazy though? Astrea still being in this game. I feel like it was game over 3 minutes ago. But he's actually making it happen. Thing is though, natural and main base are gonna run out very quickly. He decided to go for the Dark Shrine, that's fine and all. But this is his army, and he hasn't got a third base. Solar is like playing the safest game he can possibly play. He will from here on out be known as the double condom Zerg. Rather than like pushing, he's just playing super safe, man. He's gone for a bunch of infestors right now as well. Apparently the comeback mechanic that Protoss wants to go for is the Shadow Stride ability. That's the Dark Templar Blink. Speaking of Blink, Astrea does have a bunch of Stalkers over here as well that can blink up into the main base. The double condom Protoss though, or double condom Zerg though, is denying the third base once again. The newly acquired third base. Sneaky Probe once again tries to make a base over here. Stop hiding your bases, dude. You don't have to. You're good enough to just take the fight. Just, why are you hiding? I guess at this point he kind of has to go for a desperation move, but I'm quite surprised he decided to go for such a quick fourth base in the first place, because it turned out to be a disaster, right? It really didn't work very well. Solar though, I mean, he's making the best of it. He's just really pushing this one super far ahead. He's making a transition of as if this game is gonna go up for a very long time. He's got pretty much every single tech route right now. Put down a Spire as well, man. You got it all. These Stalkers, though, are gonna be the last attacking units, I think, for the Protoss player. He's adding on a couple of them more as well. Queens, for some reason, they are once again off creep. One Dark Templar in the meantime, trying to win the battle for the Protoss. It's like, guys, I've got this! Don't you worry about it. I'll kill all of them. So he's going to be able to, at the very least, kill one of those dirty Zerg hatcheries. But the natural, in the meantime, is being overrun. Astrea warping in a couple more zealots as a last-ditch effort. Zerg doesn't have that much mining either, but he's got every single tech in the book other than the Spire. GG is cold. And in a very well-played series, it is Solar who ultimately obtains the victory, but I gotta say, I am genuinely impressed here by the Protoss player from the United States of America. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, hit that like button. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe button. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? And I will see you once again in the next one.